Growing up, it felt like my sister, Chloe, and I lived in two completely different worlds. Even though we shared the same house, Chloe was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. Me. I was the quiet one, the bookworm, the one who was always there. It was like I was part of the furniture. My parents poured all their energy, hopes, and dreams into Chloe. She was going to be a doctor, a lawyer, a star, whatever she wanted. Me. They never really asked. The difference was never clearer than when it came to our education. They started a college fund for Chloe the day she was born. It was this legendary account, spoken about in hushed, proud tones at family gatherings. For my 16th birthday, I got a pat on the back and a reminder that good grades were their own reward. When I asked about my own college fund, my dad just looked uncomfortable and said, "We'll see, sweetie. Just keep working hard." Chloe wasn't exactly a stellar student. She coasted through high school, more interested in parties and popularity than her textbooks. I, on the other hand, lived in the library. I found a genuine passion for learning. I loved the challenge, the feeling of mastering a new concept. My grades were perfect, but at home, it barely registered. A strata report card on the fridge for me was met with a nod, while Chloe's C+ got her a celebratory dinner because she tried so hard. When college application season arrived, the difference became a chasm. My parents hired a private counselor for Chloe, spent weekends touring prestigious campuses with her, and proofread every line of her application essays. For me, they just handed me a fee waiver form they got from my school counselor and wished me luck. It hurt, more than I can even say. It was a clear message: you're on your own. So, I did it on my own. I worked 2 part-time jobs while keeping up my grades. I spent my lunch breaks filling out scholarship applications until my hands cramped. I wrote essays about my passion for astrophysics, pouring my heart onto the pages, hoping someone, somewhere, would see my potential. Chloe got into a decent private university, and my parents threw a massive party. They announced they'd be covering her entire tuition, room, and board. The check they wrote could have bought a small car. I got into my dream university, a top-tier public school with a renowned physics program, on a near-full scholarship. When I told my parents, my mom smiled weakly and said, "Oh, that's nice, dear. At least it won't be too expensive." There was no party, no celebration, just a quiet acknowledgement. I had to take out loans to cover the remaining costs, the ones my scholarship didn't touch. I moved into my tiny dorm room with second-hand furniture and a fierce determination to prove them all wrong. College was my fresh start. For the first time, I was judged on my own merit, not in comparison to my sister. I thrived. I spent late nights in the observatory, debated theories with professors who saw me as a peer, and made friends who shared my passions. I never asked my parents for a dime. I worked as a research assistant, a tutor, and a barista. Every dollar I earned was a badge of honor. Meanwhile, I'd hear snippets about Chloe's college life during our brief, awkward phone calls. She was having a great time, apparently. She'd joined 3 sororities. Her social calendar was always full, but her grades were, well, they were Chloe's grades. My parents would send her care packages filled with her favorite snacks and extra spending money. I got an occasional text asking if I was still doing okay with the whole school thing. The years flew by. I poured everything I had into my studies, not just for the grades, but because I genuinely loved it. My senior year, I was engrossed in my thesis, a complex project on dark matter. I was so focused that I barely noticed graduation was approaching. One afternoon, I got an official-looking email from the dean's office. I almost deleted it, thinking it was just another campus-wide announcement. But the subject line caught my eye. An invitation from the dean. Curious, I opened it. It was a formal letter, congratulating me. It said that based on my academic record, my research contributions, and my GPA, the highest in the entire graduating class of over 5,000 students, I had been selected as the university's valedictorian. I read it once, then twice, then a third time. My heart started pounding in my chest. Me, valedictorian. It didn't seem real. I, the girl who was always an afterthought, was now at the very top. The first people I wanted to tell, ironically, were my parents. I called them, my voice shaking with a mix of excitement and nervousness. I said, "Mom, Dad, I have some news. I've been named valedictorian." There was a long pause on the other end. Then, my dad said, "Vala what? What does that mean?" I explained that I had the highest grades and that I would be giving a speech at graduation. "Oh," my mom said. "Well, that's wonderful, honey. We'll have to make sure Chloe can get the day off work to be there. That was it. The reaction was so lukewarm, so underwhelming. It was like a punch to the gut. The years of feeling invisible came rushing back. But then, a strange sense of calm washed over me. Their reaction didn't matter anymore. This achievement was mine. I earned it through my own sweat and sleepless nights. I didn't need their validation to know its worth. Graduation day was a blur of blue gowns and proud families. My parents and Chloe found seats somewhere in the massive crowd. I could feel their eyes on me as I walked onto the stage and stood at the podium, looking out at a sea of faces. The dean introduced me, listing my accomplishments, my research, my scholarships. He spoke of my dedication and brilliance. And then, he said my name, our valedictorian. As I started my speech, I scanned the crowd and found my parents, and for the first time, I saw it. I saw the shock on their faces. It was as if they were seeing me for the very first time. Not as Chloe's quiet sister, not as the girl who was doing okay, but as the young woman on stage, being honored by an entire university. My dad's jaw was slack, and my mom was crying. Chloe just stared, her perfectly made-up face a mask of disbelief. I didn't use my speech to call them out. I didn't talk about my struggles or their neglect. Instead, I spoke about passion. I talked about finding the one thing that sets your soul on fire and chasing it with everything you've got, no matter the obstacles. I talked about the power of believing in yourself, especially when it feels like no one else does. My voice didn't waver. It was strong, confident. After the ceremony, they rushed over to me. The hugs were tight, almost desperate. "We are so proud of you," my dad kept saying, his voice thick with emotion. "We had no idea." My mom, wiping away tears, said, "We should have helped you. We should have paid for your college. We are so sorry." Chloe just stood there, awkwardly, and mumbled, "Yeah, congrats. That was a really good speech." That evening, my dad sat me down. He had a checkbook in his hand. He told me he wanted to pay off all my student loans, effective immediately. He said it was the least they could do. He wanted to make things right. I looked at the checkbook, then at his face, etched with regret, and I gently pushed it back. "Thank you, Dad," I said softly. "But I've got this." Paying off those loans myself would be my final victory lap. The real prize wasn't their money. It was the look on their faces in that crowd. It was the moment they finally saw me. My success was never about getting their approval in the end. It was about earning my own. And that was a prize no amount of money could ever buy. Thanks so much for listening to my story. If you've ever felt overlooked, remember that your value isn't determined by others. Keep chasing your passion. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.